What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Actually, I shouldn't say happy Wednesday. This is for Sunday. We're going to be talking about week 16 of the NFL season. There's also games on Saturday, Monday. We're going to have games on Wednesday. So there's a lot going on in the NFL world. We have no NBA games tonight, so we're recording this NFL show a little bit early, but we don't have all the projections and everything yet. But it's an interesting slate, and it's that time of year where we have to start worrying. We're probably going to start getting extra value places because people are going to start sitting people here and there. Maybe we're 1 week away from that, but I have a feeling there's going to be some surprises this week. Sheets, any overall thoughts before we jump into game by game here?
Yeah, it's probably close to that time where you start thinking about that kind of thing. Like who's sitting, who's going for MVP points, who's going for bonuses and stuff like that, I suppose, and which teams are more conducive to be, supportive in those quests. But aside from that, everybody's still playing, and it seems like a pretty normalish slate, with the exception of, again, it's a shorter slate because, again, we have 2 games Saturday. It's a pretty wild week of sports between now and the next 10 days.
Yeah.
Ending with that whole Christmas thing, which, again, we have that NBA Christmas Day thing. I presume, again, that's always fun, right? And then all the football, double game Saturday. I mean, all kinds of ways to degen. So we'll and we're here for all of it. So.
Nice, yeah. It's gonna be wild too. I'm moving on the 23rd, so I'm moving from Santa Barbara to LA. I've got moving vans and all that kind of stuff, and then I'm leaving on the 26th. So I'm gonna squeeze everything in between. But it's gonna be a wild stretch for sure. All right, let's should we pull up your screen? Oh, we got your screen up. All right, let's start off with what is it? Yeah, Cleveland and Cincinnati. This is so unfortunately the best ball's over for you, right?
Thank God it is. Otherwise, I'd be really tilted.
Why would you be tilted if you advance?
Oh, because then I'd have to deal with JTR instead of Winston throwing to my Cleveland guys.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah.
If they're even playing. So, Njoku, hopeful that he will suit up against the Bengals. Well, I mean, as I mentioned, the Bengals are very, very, very giving with respect to other teams' offenses.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I can do it with Thompson Robinson at quarterback. It's cheap enough, and if Njoku plays, he's going to be good. You're going to have, I presume Tillman's going to be out again. I don't know. Oh, he's hopeful he's going to play too.
That's what they're saying, and it is a rivalry game, so I expect
it is. But I don't know. It just seems like Cincinnati is going to end up handling that with that guy quarterback. On Cincinnati, this is like my first look at the salaries here. See, this is what Chase Brown, I think, should be. He just gets the ball every freaking play. That Jamar Chase doesn't get the ball. It's kind of ridiculous. So, but it's tough. Chase at 85, Higgins at 68 is not exactly cheap either. So it's going to challenge you to play these Cincinnati guys. I'm guessing that nothing's going to be great value here. What do you think?
I actually think we're going to have some things here. I think the number one play is going to be like one of the highest owned plays on the slate is going to be Jerome Ford.
Oh yeah.
Running backs against Cincinnati, and we're not expecting Nick Chubb at all.
Oh, that was the other one. I would have had Chubb in best ball also, by the way.
Oh yeah, that would have been tilting a little bit as well. Yeah. So I do think Jerome Ford is going to be a popular play, and I'll probably have some exposure. But I'm telling you, there's going to be value this week. We'll get to it when we get to the Atlanta game, which they finally made the move they need to make. Get rid of Kirk Cousins as a quarterback because he is not a quarterback right now. But we'll get into that later because that's another cheap source of potential upside. But Jerome Ford is the one that stands out the most to me from the Cleveland side. Like you said, I don't really like these receivers as much with Thompson Robinson. Now, could I talk myself into Jerry Jeudy? They seem to be, they're targeting him every time. Maybe I could talk myself into it by the end of the week, but as of right now, I don't think I'd be getting much of it. And on the Cincinnati side, it's the same thing as always. It's like you sort of mentioned with Chase. I was a little disappointed. We had a chance to get the big game out of Higgins, which was my bold call last week, which he had a 20-yard play that would have gotten over 100 yards and his second touchdown of the game. Instead of having 20, he would have ended up with like 34. But it is what it is. I think Chase, as always, is a guy you just have to have some of. Cincinnati's defense has not been anything that it was supposed to be this season. And as you mentioned, Chase Brown, but I just think there's other running backs that might end up looking a little bit better than Chase Brown. But these games are it's a rivalry game. They tend to play really high or really low scoring. I'm going to guess this one, at least on the Cincinnati side, is going to be higher. So I kind of want a little bit of exposure to most of it, especially the Brown and Chase. Not sure where I stand on Burrow because we're going to have value at quarterback, as I mentioned earlier. All right. Moving over to the Giants in Atlanta. This is the one that so for anybody who doesn't know, they benched Kirk Cousins for Michael Penix now. And I think that that's going to be the chalk play, and I am definitely going to be one of the people playing it, or the chalk spend down, I should say. I'm not sure that I should talk chalk play, but I definitely want Michael Penix, and that's I guess just a big piece of like source of value here. If you play him with Ford, and we've got some other cheapos coming up, I think there's going to be some good stuff you can go after. What do you think, Sheets?
I hope I don't do that. I don't know.
You have something against Penix?
Yeah, he hasn't played a game. I want the Giants defense. No, I don't know.
There's nothing about him or anything that's ever been said about him that's anything but awesome. So I don't know. I don't have he hasn't played a game because they foolishly, I think, have stuck with Kirk Cousins longer than they should have. And I think Penix is my take. I guess maybe I'm just I think Penix is the real deal. When you pay Kirk Cousins at however many millions of dollars and you draft Penix with the overall 7th pick in the same draft, I got to believe in something here. That's just my take.
Well, he's only 4,500, so that's good. And I imagine we know where the ball's going. So Drake London and Mooney, and actually I'm not exactly sure because Ray McLeod gets some action, Kyle Pitts gets some action. Not to mention, Bijan Robinson is going to be probably relied upon quite a bit with the rookie quarterback out there. Bijan at 8,100 seems a little. Boy, this seems a little expensive too. I'm feeling like the Grinch here. You know what I mean? Like
that's okay.
I feel like all these guys are too expensive, and I don't feel like playing them. And I don't know. I'd rather play Tyrone Tracy than so far. I mean that's my pick right now. I'll take Tyrone Tracy on the Giants side. As far as the other Giants, I don't even know who's quarterback. Could be Tim Boyle.
It might be Tim Boyle.
I mean, he's only 4,400. I don't know. What did he do? He came in last week and did what he was supposed to do against the Ravens, which was nothing. And he had a touchdown. I don't know. I would rather. I don't know. I think I'd rather play whoever the quarterback is for the Giants with Neighbors. And I imagine lower ownership.
Yeah, I don't think there's any person alive that'll play Tim Boyle, but so I think that's maybe. I mean, he is never. I mean, it's not even the devil you don't know because Penix is like a elite upside guy. I don't think Tim Boyle has any upside whatsoever, but it is Atlanta's defense, which has been faulty at times, although they've been a little better than probably they get credit for. But I think it's interesting. Hey, look, it's definitely different. I like the Neighbors play.
He's a million targets every game.
Yep.
They're probably. I imagine they're an underdog, right?
They're 9
yeah, probably like a 7-point at least underdog.
8.5, I think actually. Yeah.
So they're going to have to come hook or crook and have to be throwing the ball. What's Robinson? Is he like 4K or something? He's 4K. Yeah, that's my gut take. Is the skill guys on? I couldn't really tell you the skill guys on the Giants. And if you're telling me that Penix is going to be the chalk play, I would say Giants defense. That's my take at 12-12 on Tuesday.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm not sure exactly where Penix is going to be. I just have a feeling this is like I've been saying, why don't we just play the same spend up quarterbacks because they just seem to keep smashing. This is a 4,500 play with. I feel like the weapons will be able to be used because Kirk Cousins has been. He's been the worst quarterback in football for the last 5 weeks, and it's not really up for debate. He's just been god awful. Cannot get anybody the ball. So I think this whole Atlanta offense is wide open for the taking here. I think that you want to get exposure to all of it. London and Robinson, and then Penix as the priorities. But I like the Neighbors run back. The only worry I have about the Tracy idea is that they split carries in the last game between Tracy and Singletary, and it kind of worries me a little bit. So I'm just a little hesitant on the Tracy, but I do like the Neighbors play, and I think it's probably going to be a play that, like he wants to do his thing. He wants to stay out there. As long as they keep letting him play, I'm going to assume that he's going to get his 10 plus targets, and with that comes immense upside as well as a pretty high floor. So at 6,100, that sounds really good to me. So I'm interested in this game more than I would have been if Kirk Cousins was playing, where I would probably have nobody. All right, Arizona and Carolina.
I mean, I like not knowing the projections, not knowing who's. It's so funny. I fired up the Swolecast today. I was going to listen to that at least, give myself some idea of what was going on, and then I got distracted, and I didn't see any of it. So I'm literally my first complete instinct on all of this. Arizona, Carolina. So last week, everybody played Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, and they were, Trey McBride, he had 2 fantasy points at the end of the first half. And then Murray got hurt, right?
Yeah.
And Sam Howell came in. No, not Sam Howell. Who came in for Arizona?
I honestly don't remember.
I thought someone came in for – I thought somebody came in for Toon, I think, came in for Arizona. Let me just see how many – yeah, he was 2 for 2. I think both of them were to McBride. So I imagine that McBride is going to look good against. See, you have both these guys. So Bowers and McBride are both over 6K. I'm just looking at the tight end position for a minute. James Conner's coming off a big performance, and Carolina is a team that people say you can run against. Again, I'm like the Grinch that stole Christmas at 7,100, though. I don't know if I want to do that. So, I don't know. Let's see. Hubbard at 6,800? How did he end up doing last week? He did all right.
Terrible. No, he was terrible
last week.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Maybe go right back. Maybe go right back to him. Okay, so that's again another stupid Galaxy brain play. So, let me try the Carolina guys. Let me try Bryce Young, Hubbard. Ooh, Leggett is doubtful.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so we have some stuff here. So, are people going to play David Moore again? Thielen 5,600. The resurgence of Adam Thielen. Tight end Tremble maybe. What did Colker had one big reception, didn't he?
He had a huge game.
He had a huge game. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm down with. Again, my second dumb take of the week is the Carolina offense in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I keep pointing out is, again, still nobody's scoring on Arizona, and
No, they're not.
People keep trying it because we're used to the Arizona of the past, and the projections always look good. But right now we don't have a projection, so. But I like Connor. 7,100 feels reasonable to me. I like McBride a little bit, and I will definitely take a shot with the Jalen Coker or Adam Thielen. Those would be the main ones. Maybe I could talk myself into David Moore, but I like Coker a little bit better. And maybe it was a fluke week, but as of right now, again, if we don't need the value, I'm happy just to pass on it because I don't feel in love with anything from over here. And playing a chalky David Moore doesn't sound like the most fun thing to do on a full slate, even though it's not quite as big of a slate as some of the other ones. All right, Detroit and Chicago.
Yeah, so this is the revenge game. This is game 2 after that wild Thanksgiving Day game. And to recall what happened there, Detroit was literally running out of the building. At the end of the first half, I thought it was going to be 44-3 at the end of the game. And then, you know what? What's his name? Who's not there anymore. But Eberflus made some good adjustments, and Chicago basically dominated the whole second half. And we all kind of know what happened. At the end of that game, it came right down to the wire. So yeah, Chicago has certainly been aiming for this spot. Just as they've always had big motivation to play Detroit, especially at home, and they're catching them in a really, really good spot. Detroit coming off those 2 freaking wild games in a row where they scored 1 million points. So I do think Chicago is live in this game. from a betting perspective, which means that the game rates to be close, in my opinion, which means that Detroit is very live as well. Now, the big news, it looks like, is that David Montgomery is out. So now you get the full Jamar Gibbs experience. I don't know what that looks like because we haven't seen it.
Right.
But you'd like to think that it's going to be an improvement. It's like he was splitting the work basically 50-50, and now the 50 is gone. Yeah, I would imagine that he's now 75% of the running back carries, at least. So definitely, I'm definitely like him. I'm going to guess he's the most popular spend up just because you have that big old other guy out deal, so he looks good. The normal guys in Detroit are going to look good, Jameson Williams, St. Brown. And then I think the guys from Chicago are live here. Now, I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Chicago, so you always have to worry about that this time of year.
Looks like it's going to be cold, but okay as of right now.
Okay. But these guys, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, they can certainly get it going, and they're going to be up for this game. So I think this game could be close, which means that I think that there be points scored on both sides. So I like this game. Yeah,
I do too. And the thing is, like, the Detroit defense is just so decimated. They're missing like 700 pieces, and it was very clear against the Buffalo. I mean, even when they go for the onside kick with 12, I know they're aggressive, but like I thought it was really stupid anyway. But I kind of get why they were doing it, just because their defense literally couldn't stop them, and that's just where they're at right now with where their defense is. So Detroit might be at the moment one of the worst defenses in football. They're not, like, historically they've got a good culture, but you're playing like third stringers at 4 positions or 5 positions. So as terrible as Caleb looked on Monday, I'm interested a little bit in going back to the Bears stack. He's the other cheap quarterback, but whether you play him or not, I certainly like DJ Moore. I certainly like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to probably be the most popular running back on the slate, I would imagine. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown also gets a boost because they use him for the underneath stuff, and I think Jameson Williams is a really good tournament play. So I like this as a game stack. I think this is one right off the bat, or not right off the bat, but one that I definitely want to be, let's just say, overexposed to. So again, I like it. I like it on both sides. Did I forget anybody? Oh, Laporta again, and all the receivers for the Bears I have interest in here. So, Caleb hopefully wants to end the season on a strong note against the Lions. Getting a win would be a big way to, stopping a lot of the hate from a really, really brutal first year. But and even in a lot of those bad games, there's also the chance that Detroit blows them out and Caleb gets there in garbage time, which we've seen a ton this year. So I'm good with this as a game stack, and basically everybody in this game, I like the idea of being pretty heavy on. All right, Tennessee and Indianapolis. A weird one. Yeah,
I have this thought that this game ends up being like one of the hipster plays of the week. I'm just kind of looking at this. You got this dome. You got Anthony Richardson, who people just love playing. People keep going back to the Levis, but is he even going to start next week? No, he's backing. Yeah, I figured. Yeah, so he's benched. Yeah, I'm not doing the Tennessee side of this. I don't think. I don't feel like playing Mason Rudolph. If I did, obviously, Calvin. If Mason Rudolph has a good game, you could be sure that Calvin Ridley's too cheap. You know what I mean? At 57. So yeah, I do like that. What's his name? He had a pretty good day. Did Pollard have a pretty good day? No, he didn't either. Couldn't get any of those secondary running backs going.
Well, it was weird because Pollard actually got off to a great start, but then they started giving the ball to Spears, and I believe Spears scored.
Spears went bananas. Yeah.
So it was really, and it was a little bit circumstantial because he did get the, it's not like he had like an insane amount of work. He had 4 rushing attempts.
Yeah, this could end up being the sucker play of the week. I think the Spears. If he goes up 4,900 like this, and it's like one just below 5K, and people look at the game log, I think people are really going to play this. Wouldn't you?
No, because I don't think he didn't show anything to show that he was the main running back. He just happened to have one burst play, and then he got the other carry at the goal line in the second possession.
He had 7 targets.
I know it was a weird game. They did use him. Yeah, they did use him in the comeback attempt because they were basically done. But you still had 17 rushing attempts for Pollard. So I'm just going to treat it as sort of what it's been, like a somewhat of a split backfield. But if it's low owned, by the way, on the other hand, I think that's interesting. If it's low owned, you know.
Indianapolis. Let me just finish up the Indianapolis talk. Yeah. Richardson. You always want to play him, and then it's I don't know. Josh Downs 4,900 obviously looks pretty good. Pittman. Let's see if Alex Pierce is. He's not practicing. I don't know if he's playing. If he's out, maybe I don't know. Mitchell steps up into the projection realm again. One of my enemies, Jonathan Taylor. Boy, 6,900. Maybe that's kind of fair though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think he's decent. He doesn't really. I was about to say he doesn't really get targeted. I guess he did get 2 targets, but he's definitely just mostly a runner nowadays. Yeah, I guess he's all right. I don't know. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I have interest a little bit in Taylor. I also think that I am one of those people who likes to play Richardson, and Richardson sort of in a different way, but sort of like Caleb, like people who, you know, say, oh, he sucks, he's doing this, he's still putting up huge games for his price every other game, basically. Or not huge games, but good enough games, the 23s and the 30s and whatever. I think there's enough upside for him to play him at 5,400. It's so cheap. So these are the reasons why, you know, I'm not like just gonna have all the Penix, but I do like Richardson and I like the Taylor, not necessarily together, obviously. I also think that, you know, if I'm playing Richardson, I don't mind the idea of using Pittman or Downs because they're cheap enough, and I don't mind Ridley on the other side. So a little bit of interest here, not overly interested in it, but I don't mind the Richardson thing just because that rushing floor is so high and he seems to run for a touchdown every week, which basically means all you have to do is play an average game and you're getting, you know, your 20 and he's 5,400. So anyway, and Travis is saying Westbrook Akine has been going under the radar. People, you know, it's interesting because they raised his price a bunch. And for a guy who gets like almost no targets, Westbrook Akine hasn't had more than 3 targets in his last 6 games, but he has touchdowns in 4 of those games. I don't think you should be playing guys like that at 4,700. I just think it's really bad basic logic. Now, could he have a game again and just have his two targets both be long touchdowns? Sure, maybe. Seems like a weird thing to bet on at 4,700 though for me. If he was 3,500 or something, that's a different story. But 4,700 feels like a little bit too much for how fluky those things have been. All right, my Rams in New York. Ugh.
Yeah. So, you know, 1 week removed from Aaron Rodgers is kind of winning the slate. He came on. Well, that guy's out of his freaking mind.
I watched
another couple of wonderful interviews.
Wonderful interviews, and also he's got his new show came out, which I forced myself to like. I could only watch it in the background while I was watching the NBA on another thing, and it's pretty weird.
Anyway, first of all, this has always been kind of a tough spot for teams in general to come from the West Coast to New York and play a 1 o'clock game like this. I don't have the particular data to support it, but at least anecdotally, it's a tough spot with the time change, especially when the weather could be fishy. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it's definitely colder than LA, that's for sure. So I think it's a tough spot in general for the Rams to come into. Let's look at the prices here. Both these, well, Nakua obviously is 8K, but maybe Kupp is cheap enough at 6,500. 7,200 Kyron Williams. Once again, I'm very stubborn. I don't think the Jets. I was about to say I don't think the Jets' defense is as bad as I think. And next thing you know, you have Jacksonville putting the 25 on them like it's their job. Breece Hall 6,100. Maybe that's okay. Would I go back to Aaron Rodgers? I mean, I might. I have to say, like pretty much all year since they got Devonta Adams, I was preaching, you know, this is a pretty good twosome here, you know, with big, you know, target share. And you saw what happened last week. You know, Devonta Adams had a freaking million fantasy points.
Right.
So I don't see any reason to fade that if you want to know the truth. I mean, I might go right back to this, like the Aaron Rodgers with both these guys. I don't know. Is that chalk? I mean, what is that like?
I don't think it's chalk. look, I actually had some Rodgers stacks last week for the first time, but that's because they were playing Jacksonville. I have a little too much respect for this Rams defense, especially coming off 10 days off because they haven't played and they didn't play last Sunday.
That's true. I didn't realize.
And it boosts them a little bit, but I don't want to play Rodgers, but I am totally sold. Well, okay, maybe this is the argument for playing Rodgers, but I'm more interested for the receiver's perspective. The vanity of Aaron Rodgers is what they're playing for right now on offense. It scares me about playing Breece Hall, who's going to look pretty good from projections by the end of the week, I think. And I think they are playing strictly for his vanity. You can see that the touches for Hall are down. Touches for the whole running game in general are down. And Aaron Rodgers is out there slinging it more than he has in forever because that's, in my opinion, they're suiting his vanity. Now, that also means that immediately makes both receivers excellent plays, especially Devontae. Yeah. So that's what I'm interested in this narrative. It is interesting that this is a game that does kind of scare me as a Rams fan. We finally got the division lead, and it would be a really bad loss. And it's not about believing in the Jets. It's just about 20-degree weather, like you said, east to west, even though they did have the 10 days off or whatever. But I'm interested in both Kupp and Nakua, and Kyren is probably one of the best plays on the slate to me.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, in terms of spend ups, I think it's Kyren is probably number 2 for me at running back. So I do have interest in that. I don't necessarily want to play Stafford. I just would prefer mobile guys who have some rushing upside if I'm going to pay down this much, or play any quarterbacks. But they are cheap enough to where you could consider both of them. And I wouldn't cross off Rodgers and Stafford. I just not going to go out of my way to try and get them. But I think this is an interesting game to attack pieces of. And I also agree that I think there's a lot there's narratives around everything. That was a really weird game to go Sunday afternoon to Thursday night to play San Francisco on the road. And, he had 4 targets and they don't think he got it, 3 targets. Didn't catch anything for the first time ever, basically for Kupp. But he's been much more heavily involved than that last week would show you to, believe. So I still do think Kupp has some upside here. And I think you're going to end up with, they're going to line up Nakua in the slot mostly, but they'll line him up out wide too. So I'm kind of curious how it ends up going in terms of who Sauce Gardner ends up guarding, because that's going to be a big piece. But I do think this game is a little sneaky and could get interesting. And I'm just hoping my Rams can get this weird game out of the way and move forward.
One thing I would mention, though, before I go too heavy on the games like this, or the games like Chicago, Detroit, or whatever, is one thing that I forgot to mention when we talked about this time of the season is the gap between, a good weather game and a bad weather game gets a little more dramatic, which is my fancy way of saying that it's freaking cold out now. Like in September, October, there's not, what I mean? It's you play outdoors in Green Bay, it's the same as playing outdoors in Miami, pretty much. Now it's a big difference. So if you get one of these dome games or these good weather games, I mean, it is a big difference. It's not doesn't mean you don't play the other one or that you only jam that one, but you're gonna you'll see if you look at the blitz, you're gonna see huge discrepancies probably in some of these games once those projections come out. There's a difference between an outdoor game and a dome game in December. Is just a big deal.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's over for the other games. I think a lot of times it means you're playing the running backs, and in the cold weather games, I think you're playing a lot of the receivers in the dome game.
Oh, what's interesting here? I mean, you look at there aren't that many of those. So and are there many good weather games? Cincinnati's outdoors, Atlanta's inside. We talked about that one.
Yeah.
And you got outdoors Chicago, Indianapolis is in the dome, Jets is outside. Now we're going to get to Washington outside. Well, it's we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's a good point though. It's something that we should have been. And it's 30 degrees and why it's a cold front coming up this week on the East Coast. Weather that I never am in out here in California. So definitely affects things. All right, next up we have Washington. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Washington, Philly. They played a pretty, I think, ugly game last time they played. I think Philly ended up winning. Let me just confirm that.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure both.
Washington had a lead in the fourth.
Both of those facts, 26 to 18.
Yeah.
I imagine this is going to be similar. Philly's been pretty stingy recently. So I don't know if Washington's going to be able to do their thing all that much. They're going to try. So I think it's going to be I don't know. I'm thinking that it's kind of a low-scoring game, maybe. So I don't know if I'm going to, unless the prices really stand out, like Brian Robinson 62, McLaurin 73. So nothing looks great. On the Philly side, I just don't know if I could play 8K for a quarterback. And we'll talk about Buffalo in a minute, but I just don't think I can do it. Barkley 8,300, that could be interesting, coming off of a pedestrian game, and where he actually sat a little bit. Right, he got hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't get the full reason for why he was sitting so long. He still ended up with getting a lot of work, even though he didn't have a good game.
Okay. So I guess these guys are always in play. Not Antonio, but I do this again. AJ Brown 7,800.
Yeah,
I guess that's fair. Devontae Smith 5,800.
Devontae Smith feels too cheap to me at 5,600.
Yeah,
he just had 12 catches and had 31 fantasy points on Sunday.
I mean, Goddard's still on the IR. Calcaterra 3,400, but they're high upside tight end plays. I don't need to play him. I don't know. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I think that there's upside. Like I personally I'm gonna err on the side of betting the over, and that's only because it's 45, and I feel like if that other one I believe was like 51 when they played the first time, and I just have a feeling, sometimes in the NFL the exact opposite of what happened last week is what happens the next time you play them. In terms of fantasy plays, I think Barkley is an interesting. Probably 83 is a pretty reasonable price actually for his usual workload, but with everybody back, it's not necessarily been the same thing. And all the squeaky wheel stuff with AJ Brown, and then you got Devontae Smith heavily involved last week. I'm curious about this one. I think you got to have sprinkles because both of these offenses have tremendous upside against anybody, and both of these quarterbacks can put up 35. They can run the ball. You have the running quarterbacks, especially Jalen Hurts. So I definitely want pieces of it. Other than Devontae, I don't really know who those primary pieces are going to be. But I don't think I'm interested in Barkley. I'm not interested in the Washington running game, although it's nice to have Ryan Robinson with no Eckler behind him. But still, you just don't run the ball in Philly. So maybe I'll end up with a Jaden to McLaurin stack, or maybe I'll end up with a Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown and/or whether either Barkley, more likely though Devontae Smith and Barkley would be the way it works out price wise. So yeah, I'm interested in it overall as a game, but I don't really know where I'm going to end up with it this early in the week. It's 31 degrees, and as you mentioned, there are games in better weather a few places. Maybe we don't have to play it, but I'm sort of tempted to take a little bit of a gamble on this one. All right, Minnesota and Seattle. This is a big game.
Yeah. So I was just looking at this. First of all, obviously it's important whether Geno Smith plays. They say that they're hoping to have him practice or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see what people do if Sam Howell is actually the quarterback. Because on the one hand, we were used to playing him like every week because he would sling the ball around, but he looked out of sorts this past week even when he got thrown in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and it's obviously a tough defense to be out of sorts against, for sure. I'm going to proceed as if Geno Smith is quarterbacking for now. Now, then you have to see what's going on with Walker, right? A good workout Monday, who knows? So I think that if Walker plays, I think it's a no play for either running back. I think if he's out, I think you could try Charbonnet again at 6K. The one guy who you want to talk about squeaky wheel or whatever. I mean, if you told me that Seattle would lose 30-13 and be forced to come from behind mode, and DJ Metcalf would get 3 targets, that's a little bizarre. When I was watching it, they basically were throwing it to JSN. I think
they kept the safety help over Metcalf the whole game. Like they were not going to let a big play out of Metcalf happen. Yeah. Was my take on it.
They were giving up everything underneath to JSN. I don't know how Minnesota's going to treat it, whatever. But I just think that if you get I need a healthy what's his name for the store. Actually, maybe I don't even if Howell plays. I think I kind of want to play DJ Metcalf at 5,500. That's then I don't think I want to do it, but you talk about being price enforced. Is it almost time to play Tyler Lockett? But then he hasn't had more than 4 fantasy points in the whole season, so maybe not. Minnesota, Jefferson 8,200. I can't really argue with it. Addison 62. So all these guys look, again, relatively reasonable. All right, Aaron Jones. I was about to say he looks good at 6,400, but Akers getting work. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I mean, first of all, I really hope Minnesota wins this game. It's supposed to be pouring. It's still early in the week, but pouring in 50-degree weather is not like impossible for NFL, players or whatever. It's not the same thing. I would just point out that you've got. I'm kind of confused by these numbers. What I've looked at with the Minnesota defense, they've given up plays, so it feels like we should be overweight the receivers, but at the same time, they really are good against quarterbacks, which is like strange. All right, so basically, I will have exposure to DK and JSN as I always do. The Metcalf at 5,500, I'm guessing is going to become a trendy thing by the end of the week, but maybe not. I'm just a guess. And I always like Jefferson, and I felt encouraged by what I saw from Aaron Jones on Monday, and I think that he's a guy to consider. I don't know how much I really want of him, but nothing that, other than maybe the Seattle receivers, nothing that's a priority for me. It's a pretty low total. And like I said, we have to find out if Geno's playing for sure. But right now I have Jefferson, Addison, and then Metcalf and Smith and Jigba as my favorite plays here without necessarily having any interest in the quarterbacks. All right. Next up, we have New England at the hottest offense in the history of football, Buffalo.
Yeah. However, in a weird way, it is a double negative park shift for Buffalo, having played in two domes in a row, coming back to Buffalo, where the weather is going to be worse. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but it's going to be worse. I'm not playing Allen at 8,700. Again, it's probably going to be bad weather, or cold weather. So I don't think I'm going to try New England guys either. Boy, I have a feeling I just don't want any part of this game.
Yeah, I'm having a similar feeling myself. If James Cook has a ton of ownership, they tend to save him. Like that's what the word around the Buffalo organization was. They were saving him for the playoffs or the postseason run, but they used him more last week, especially early on. He still only had like 14 carries, but he ended up with the 2 touchdowns and had a big fantasy day. So if people are chasing that, I'll probably just be off of it. Against Buffalo, can I talk myself into Ramondre or one of the cheap receivers? Sure, but it's not like I do think Buffalo's defense, like I've said before a number of times, that it's a little bit phony. And you see what happens against good teams; they just can't stop anybody. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, this is not a good team that they're playing in New England. Maybe by the end of the week I'll have some more interest in this game, but I'm tempted to take some shots at some of the New England guys just because of these wild games that Buffalo's been in, and they're going to probably put up 30 again. What are they at, 8 in a row now? The NFL record. I'm going to guess that somebody from New England gets there. I just can't figure out who I really would want to, who I think that would be, or who it even could be. I just was a little bit tempted, even though they only have a 16 total. Give me the over on the Patriots points, because anybody having a 16 total against Buffalo is faulty in my opinion. I think this defense is very overrated.
So after the other day, we kind of lost track of it a little bit because as we were talking about Rhodey's best ball success, which you look at the Discord, he's got a lot of good stuff going into week 16, 17. But we forgot to talk about my hero. Now we got a little lucky with the injury news. However, I talked about how Amir Abdullah was probably going to be 25% owned in the lottery in the showdown, but you can play him there. But in the even in the classic, maybe at 5% owned, you could maybe take a shot. It turns out he was 3% owned in the showdown. Nobody played a cent of him. Now, as it turns out, the other guy got he came out of the game, McCormick, whatever. But it was the all Abdullah show. It
was literally the nuts situation for Abdullah, because not only did McCormick get hurt.
Well, I talked about the game script. I mean,
but I mean, Madison was clearly the top back, and Madison fumbled on his first carry and was safetied on his second carry. So they sort of phased Madison out, and it became the Abdullah show. So, but it's crazy. It worked.
I think that one of these guys is going to get a lot of ownership. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I think whichever one gets the coach speak, I think is going to be really popular. I mean, Jacksonville is the worst. Okay, and you saw what happens. Like when they give you give one guy a bunch of the work, and you take any running back that you know is going to be the lead back against Jacksonville at 5K or less in this case. I have to imagine that they're okay. For those who didn't see what I was looking at here, so McCormick is probably not going to play, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm talking about this at all.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that one of these guys has to project. I haven't looked yet, but and again, I don't know who's actually going to be the guy. I mean, like, listen. So Madison, they thought he was going to be the guy. Then you see fumble. What did you say? Fumble safety.
Fumble safety first two.
And then Abdullah went nuts. Why not make Abdullah the guy? I don't know. We'll see. Nonetheless, I think that whoever you want running back wise from there, if you do a little homework and figure out who's going to be the starter somehow, I think you should play him. Brock Bowers, tight end, wide receiver, whatever you want to call him, 6,500. Mayer only had 2 targets. I think he also had one there was a penalty or something like that. I kind of got suckered into that one in Showdown, if you want to know the truth. I played too much of him coming off of the game before. So I don't think I need to play a backup tight end in Classic. So I don't think I'm going to play him at 2,900. Jacoby Myers, 58, certainly in play. All these Raiders are in play. As a matter of fact, I'm not exactly sure who's quarterbacking. Let's see. He's trending
projected right now, but he's questionable.
He's trending to play, it says. Yeah. Why not play him at 5,100? And then on the Jacksonville side, Etienne had a better game, but I still think Bigsby's the main guy. Brian Thomas Jr. had a big game last week, I think. Parker Washington with maybe a run back for him. Ingram goes to injured reserve, so Strange maybe at 3,500. I mean, it seems like kind of a weird game, but listen, it's a dome. To my point earlier, you got not great defenses. You got 2 games that don't give an F. You know what I mean? I think this game could go ballistic.
Yeah, it's funny. The problem is we keep doing this with the Raiders, and the Raiders just don't give up points to anybody. They just have been really, really good this year. Like they gave up 15 points to Atlanta, and the team that got them, I think.
But it was like 5 field goals too. I mean, like, right? I mean, like.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's been the hard part with trying to stack the Raider games. I keep planning on them having a worse defense than they actually do. And also, Jacksonville's offense is, I'm afraid this game ends up could be like the 10-6 game that Jacksonville played with Tennessee a couple weeks ago. But I am still going to be well overweight Brian Thomas, Brock Bowers. I don't mind the idea of O'Connell because the matchup's so good, and I'm gonna probably, even regardless of what the projections say, I'm probably gonna play Madison instead of Abdullah because I think that he's gonna be the one carrying the ball. Abdullah didn't get any carries or anything. They were down 2 scores the whole game, so he had all the pass game work. So unless you think Jacksonville comes in there and just puts up a bunch out right away, I don't think that he might not even, he might not be playable. But he's so cheap, you can definitely consider it. So right now, I'm leaning Madison though. That's the way I'm going, and I'm not going to speculate with the Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. This is a garbage situation that everybody keeps trying to act like every week one of them projects way better than the other one, and I'm not gonna play this game anymore. I'd be happy to just skip it.
So, I mean, if you didn't like any of that, you have another good weather game, and this could totally be a sling fest. I mean, you have Purdy and Tua both playable. It looks like at this price. Let's see what receivers are in now. So wait, Waddle is questionable. Oh, it's not major. Okay, so. And now we do have Tyreek Hill actually under 7K. Yeah, I think this game could be the deal. Let's see who on San Francisco. Jennings 59. Samuel, I don't know, 52 is not bad. Kittle 6K as a pivot off of Bowers, and McBride for that matter. But maybe people play Kittle actually. Who's running back for San? Is Garindo going to be back? It looks like
Garindo should be.
Garindo should be fine. Yeah, isn't this game going to put up a lot of points, Bobby?
I'm worried that I mean, these teams have absolutely nothing to play for.
Yeah,
nothing left in the season.
Even better.
I don't know that Tua, like looking at the total, it's got a 44.5 total. If you played this game 6 weeks ago, this would be like 54. You know,
wow.
Because I don't know. It's just kind of wild. But no matter what, I'm probably going to end up betting the over on this game.
Right? I mean,
but at the same time, I am a little concerned that maybe there's something we don't know. And why are we going to risk a small guy in Tyreek's future on this game? Why are we going to risk I guess for the Niners, they don't really have anything to really worry about. But Purdy kind of needs to get healthy game. But why George Kittle gets hurt all the time? Maybe he doesn't get as many snaps or something like that. We're reaching that point of the year where their season's over. So A-Chain and Mostert, maybe they just go back to splitting the carries here. So I'm just a little bit concerned about getting too exposed because my thoughts initially were the same as yours. Let's get after this one. But right now I've got it ranked as my 5th favorite game. My favorites being, after going through everything, my favorites being Detroit, Chicago, which is, again, I'm worried about the weather a little bit. The Giants and Atlanta, that's like 1A for me, 1B, for me. Philadelphia, Washington, I think is an interesting one to target. Pieces of the Rams, Jets, and then this game here. And I like the Minnesota, Seattle, but I don't necessarily like the quarterbacks in that one. So it's going to be interesting. We'll let the projections update it. We'll be live 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm also going to be doing a show with Adam Perry on Friday to talk through our favorite plays at each position when we have a little bit of a better feel for the slate. We'll start having some more multiple shows, and then Rody will have his playbook, and maybe he can get out a video too because we want to finish the season strong. We've had some good weeks, but it's time for a great one.
Couple of things. I am probably going to be out. I might be out for the Sunday.
Okay.
But don't forget the San Francisco Miami. This is like Super Bowl 19 revenge. I mean, everybody's like probably really hyped up from that from 40 years ago.
I bet you of everybody like watching, like 2 people know what you're saying. I would bet two would maybe be my guess. I actually do remember what you're saying, but I didn't remember the year. I just knew. I
want to say, you ready for this?
Yeah.
I want to say it was scores 38-19.
Oh my God, you might be good. You might be good at this. We should one time have a little sports off. I think we could have a pretty interesting little debate.
Oh well, I would do well with my years, and you would do well with yours.
No, but I'm pretty good. Like if you take me like for baseball, I can tell you every single thing from the 60s, 70s.
Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, my godfather was like literally like the biggest sports almanac person of all time, and like.
Oh really?
Just it was our whole life growing up from when I was, as far as I can remember, asking us trivia questions.
Oh, I suck, dude. I'm like the worst. So it was Super Bowl 19, but it was 38-16, not 38-19.
Oh, you were close.
I'm the worst.
I'm the worst. That's pretty funny. All right, man. Well, this should be a fun week, and obviously, for those of you watching today, there's no NBA tonight. I'm going to do a show live a little bit later with Adam Perry. We're still figuring out some things about that. But Adam's a great guy, really insightful, really intelligent in a very similar way to Sheets, and not similar way, but like you guys both think about things from a very projection-based standpoint in a way that until recently I hadn't even tried to because I'd always done well with my other way of doing things. But it's with the Sims and everything happening and AI going to be entering the picture in a major way. I want to try and stay ahead of the curve. So it'll be nice to talk to him. And we're going to talk.
Hey, are you a Joe Montana's overrated guy or Joe Montana's great guy?
I don't like taking either side because I think they're both kind of foolish. Obviously, he couldn't have done much better than he did. At the same time, I think you put a lot of guys in that situation. I think they could have done similar things. Right. But I don't think that it would have been quite the same. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback ever. I never quite understood that argument.
Okay.
How about you? You think he's the greatest ever?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you he's overrated?
I think he's a system guy. What can I tell you?
That's what I agree with that. I agree with that take. I mean, that's what I said. But look, he played the system great,
I think he's a system guy. But yeah, I mean, you'll never
tell me if Dan Marino was there, they're going to win less Super Bowls.
It's chicken and the egg. You know what I mean? Like that's like you talk about Brady and Belichick. I don't know. Yeah.
That's true. It's exactly. I mean, yeah. If
actually, it's a little different. I think Brady carried that more than Belichick. I think.
He did a great job, but it was still, and it also he didn't have a lot of great weapons most of the time, thanks to Belichick. But he's great. But at the same time, I mean, I've watched these guys play so much, I can't tell myself that my eyes, that he's any better than Mahomes at his best or Manning at his best. Manning was, I mean,
Manning's ridiculous.
Manning might be by far the best ever. Just not their defense was giving up 35 points a game for like.
What's gross is that I really didn't. I want to say follow it, but I didn't really get to appreciate how good Manning was.
Yeah.
Every time I saw him, he was like, he's such an insane like football IQ. You don't
even need an offensive coordinator with that guy.
Yep. Yeah, but he didn't want to do that.
No, I'm just saying he was just such a good. He was such a that's what he was. He was a coordinator on the field.
Yeah,
he was great at it. All right, man. Well, this was a fun one. We'll see you guys live Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It should be at least Rhodey and I, if not Sheets. So
we got a lot before that, though. Like I said, he's got Thursday Showdown. We got double. We have a 2-gamer on Saturday, which we'll probably do some type of content for at some point.
I'll definitely be live on Saturday.
Oh, excellent. Okay,
yeah, I'm doing that for sure. All right. Well, good luck, everybody. And we'll see you guys on Saturday or Thursday for basketball and all the other stuff that we've got coming.